you guys look just like you do when I'm on TV. Oh, I see two of my friends. I love friends. They are like condoms. They protect us when things get hard. I am the mom. I don't act it. But I am mom to my singing daughter, Winona, and of course, to actress daughter, Ashley Judd, who's in a very cute movie right now called Dolphin Tale 2 with family friend Morgan Freeman. And the three little Judds share adjoining farms in a very remote valley in Tennessee. We optimistically call it Peaceful Valley. Now, it's been said that my life is like a sad country song. Well, maybe if Stephen King wrote it. I have had to do thousands of interviews, INNER views. And it's very ironic because it's probably actually saved my life. The fact is that they made me do an interview and I figured out my beliefs based on our early memories and experiences, and then I was able to get help for all my PTSD. So, I'm wondering, have you ever thought about how you got here? So let me do an INNER view with you. First up, did you know that the National Science Foundation has said that right now, Americans are the most unhappy and depressed we've ever been in the history of humankind. So, for one of those cute little bendable iPhones, what do you think is the answer? Just holler out, what do you think it is? Money? Come on with it, I'm interactive now. Ego? Come on. Too much information too fast. That's great, but those are all actually symptoms. The core is that we don't know who we are as individuals anymore, they say. We're a nation of followers following followers. We have weapons of mass distraction, I call them. And the media is just invasive and incessant and intrusive. So, I'll tell you my first crisis if you'll tell me yours. Deal? It's what you get for sitting in the front row. Be afraid, be very afraid. So I'm going to ask you to be thinking about what was your first big milestone turning point crisis, because that's what made your belief system. I am a seventh generation Appalachian hillbilly, tiny town in Kentucky. And my first crisis happened when I was 17 years old. And that was really a different time in the zeitgeist. I mean, that was that innocent time back there when I had dolls in my room. I couldn't drive a car. I got $1.50 a week for babysitting. And go back and think about 1963. I was the oldest of four, and I absolutely adored my little red-headed, curly-headed brother, Brian. He actually reminded us all of Andy Griffith, little boy Opie. Remember that? So Brian had been diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. And Mommy and Daddy took their life savings out from underneath their mattress, and actually the mattress, put it in the back of our old blue family station wagon, and drove off into the night to try to find a big city hospital for Brian. And I was left alone, first time. And I remember they didn't say when they were coming back, just kind of take care of the kids, look after the house. And it was the first time I was ever alone, so it was the night before my senior year of high school. Dun, 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 dun. And that good-looking rascal, Charlie Jordan, came by, and it's just embarrassing. He got me pregnant the first time I had sex. And when I told him, I like my hair that way. Ooh. When I told him I was pregnant, he left town the next day, and we never heard a peep from him again, ever. So, Mom and Daddy's marriage really couldn't stand the strain, so Daddy abandoned us. He walked out on us and actually married a girl my age. And poor Mama tried suicide, but they actually caught her like within minutes, but she was never the same. She kicked me out when I was 5 months pregnant. Can you get this side? I really like this side over here. And I didn't have any place to go. I was desperate in our tiny town, so I had to go live with an older boy that I neither loved nor respected, we lived with him and his family. But the school principal ordered me to stay home because I was the town scandal. Then, when Brian passed, everything that I counted on and believed in my whole short, young life just literally exploded into chaos. That was my first crisis. But what the test is that change is the true nature of the world. Have you figured that out yet? Change is the true nature of this world. And the lesson, the takeaway when I thought about it later, was what Darwin said, that it's really not the strongest or the smartest of us that survives. It's the one that's willing to be flexible, adaptable, and resilient. So on May the 30th, 1964, while graduation ceremony was going on, I was 4 blocks away giving birth to Winona Ellen Judd. So I remember, there's a little man down there. How are you doing down there? Don't look up my dress. I remember looking down at the screaming little newborn in my arms, and what do you think I said? Honey, you can't make this shit up. That was my first test. Then the second crisis came in 1972. I'd never been out of Kentucky in my whole life, but Michael took us out to Hollyweird. We were living off the Sunset Strip. I gave birth to my sweet pea, Ashley Judd. Then got a divorce. And it was worth it, even though I had to work all these, I usually work 2 or 3 minimum wage jobs at a stretch, just to keep a jar of peanut butter on the table. And I felt so stinking worthless. I had no self-esteem because I thought I was responsible for all the mayhem that had happened, even Brian's death. And you know, we attract what we feel worthy of in life. How you doing, sir? Everything all right? I'm getting to the good part here. Excuse me, there's no pocket in this dress. Are you settled? I just realized. I've got a tin. I've got a Band-Aid. Got a little tuna salad sandwich for a snack after school. Oh! And a mint. Okay. We were living off the Sunset Strip, and I can remember taking Ashley to the pediatrician with 103 temperature on the city bus. And because I felt I just felt so crummy about myself. Like I said, we attract what we feel worthy of. So I attracted a sicko boyfriend. The first time he hit me with an open hand and then a fist. So I broke up with him, and he moved in right across the street and stalked me. absolutely terrorized me for about 6 weeks. And then one night, he just couldn't stand it anymore, I guess, and he broke in, and he raped me, and he beat me. And thank goodness he passed out when he did heroin, because I was able to escape with my 2 babies. And we ran to the Holloway Motel. Anybody here from LA? It's still there. You know, and every time I go by there, it's door number 8. I'll never forget it as long as I live. That night, well, the guy gave us a room because we were pretty darn pitiful. Are these yours? If you can imagine your 2 little babies. So what I got that night, this was my second crisis. Now, I looked in the medicine cabinet mirror, and it's as if that battered, grotesque, unrecognizable face staring back at me was a metaphor for what my life had become. And I decided, crisis number 2, that I had to get rid of everything that wasn't working, and there was a lot that wasn't working. It's kind of like what Michelangelo said when everybody asked him how in the world he created David. He said he just kept getting rid of everything that wasn't David. So I picked us up, plopped us down on a mountaintop back home in Kentucky, very isolated, and I know this is going to shock you, and boys, if you can even imagine this. Are you ready? You're sitting down. We lived without a TV or a telephone. Winona, they had this horrible look on their faces. Winona was 12, Ashley was 8. But in the magic of that supreme solitude and the majesty of the wilderness, the 3 of us found our passions. I gave Winona a guitar. Ashley, I started reading Chronicles of Narnia to her, and her imagination just blossomed, and that's why she's an actress today. And I put myself through college. Got my RN degree. But I earned so much more than an RN degree. I earned self-respect, finally. And everybody's always thought I was crazy anyway, but now I had self-esteem and some courage. So we rolled into Nashville, Tennessee in 1979, Music City, USA, and I told Winona, I said, we're going to make it. We had an old clunker car named Hunk-a-Junk. I remember the girls made me park a block away. They were so embarrassed at school. We slept 3 in a bed, ate a lot of bologna and crackers. I got a job working at the hospital in ICU. I see you. And all the time, just practicing on the front porch every chance we got. And as promised, when Winona graduated from high school, turned 18, we got a rare live audition at RCA Records. It's never happened before. It won't happen probably again. And I was so happy to see my first royalty check. I got a set of Clairol hot rollers and garbage pickup. So the next thing you know, we're the Cinderella act of country music. And then I vaguely remember, because I was so critically ill, because I was sitting in a wheelchair and I looked up and there were 3 men in starched white lab coats, and they said, based on the pathology slide of your liver biopsy, it looks like you have hepatitis C, probably from a contaminated needle stick when you worked in the hospital, and you have 3 years to live. Go home and die. Well, can you guess what I said? Come on with me now. You can't make this shit up. Actually, what I said to them was, no, since the body moves along the path of its expectation, your belief becomes your biology, you practice mental malpractice. You just put a hex on me, a curse on me. You need to resign forthwith and become a lighthouse keeper on a remote coast of Maine. But I went home, and it was such a, literally, if you think about it, I went from being on stage every night, twisting and twirling and dancing my little heart out under the bright lights and my fabulous gowns, surrounded by thousands of fans in a different city every night, to being home alone in a fetal position in a dark room. But I started practicing the spirit, mind, body continuum, and that's where I fell in love with neuroscience. I take it at Vanderbilt now. It's been my passion, my grand obsession for 20 years. And then, boys and girls, in 1995, I was pronounced cured, completely cured of the hepatitis C virus. Oh, but while I was recovering, I knew that I had to work on my relationship with my mother. I needed to heal that. Anybody else here think that the stork was drunk and dropped you at the wrong house? Can I get a witness? But we're only as sick as our secrets, and I found out, God love her, that Mama can't give love if she's never seen it. You don't go to the hardware store to buy milk. Mother's grandfather's name was David, was a mass murderer who committed suicide by hanging himself in front of his two little boys, Howard and Norman. Her mom, this is my grandmother now. This is my mother's mother. Her name was Edie Mae, and she was a peach. I knew her. She burned down the family restaurant, embezzled the insurance money, fled town. Oh, first she killed Granddaddy. I almost forgot. She shot my grandfather. You know that song we have, Grandpa? It's so weird. Every night I sing that, I think about this. She shot my grandfather in the temple, killed him, and then she skipped town and disappeared with her lover, Jerry, who was mysteriously killed in an accident 3 months later. All of Mama's aunts and uncles are mentally ill. That's my friggin' gene pool. And what do I have to say about that? But what I have decided is that my genes don't fit. One of my best friends for 23 years now, he actually spent his summer vacation for a week with me, is Dr. Francis Collins. He decoded the human genome in 2000. And Francis has been teaching me about genetics for a long time. Now we're on to epigenetics, which is so fascinating, that a third, this is really fantastic news, only a third of our gene predicts our heredity, how long we're going to live, how happy and how healthy. The other 2/3 is partially up to us. We get to determine how this 2/3 is expressed, whether it's upregulated or downregulated in its expression. Isn't that cool? That's the kind of choices that we have. So I will leave you with this thought. We all get to be a victim once, but if we stay conscious, if we figure out our authentic self, we don't have to become a volunteer. And I like to say that shift happens. I'll leave you with this thought that Elizabeth Taylor said to her 7 husbands, I won't be keeping you any longer.